आज हमारे जो आप लोगों को कल्चर मैटर्स विथ कैलाश मिश्रा में स्वागत है। जो हमारे विद्वान हैं आज प्रोफेसर नगराजा शर्मा, ये आर्कियोलॉजी के, आर्ट हिस्ट्री के, फोटोग्राफी के बड़े विद्वान हैं, कर्नाटक से हैं। और ये इवोल्यूशन ऑफ आइकोनोग्राफी ऑफ लिंगम एंड आर्कियोलॉजिकल पर्सपेक्टिव्स ऑफ शर्मा जी को एंड आर्कियोलॉजिकल पर्सपेक्टिव्स पर बात करेंगे। प्रोफेसर शर्मा विल टेल अस हाउ द iconography of lingam mainly in South India has been found described by the various scholars in the past, and the process is going on. So without delaying, I am requesting, and Sir, I am really very thankful to you for accepting my invitation, and in a very short span of time, you very happily agreed to deliver this much awaited, needed, lecture demonstration. After discussing with you, I discovered that you are an extraordinary photographer, you are an art critic, you are an art historian, and you have in multiple dimensions of creativity, knowledge, and cognition. This is really a good thing for us. So you are respected here, honored here. We are very honored to have you here, sir. Please continue your lecture demonstration.
Namaskar, Namaste, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening as well. History is based on two factors, namely place and the time. Without these two wheels of geography and chronology, the cart or the ratha of history can never move. But these online programs of these days have demolished both the space and time as well. Now, the time has come to remember the age-old saying, Kalaya Tasmai Namaha. Before I commence my sharing, I perform my duty by extending my gratitude to this prestigious organization for having given me this platform to share my thoughts with you all. I congratulate them for their yeoman contributions in uplifting the Indian culture and restoring the heritage as well. I thank the President and all the office bearers in general, and Dr. Kailash Kumar Mishra in particular for his kind gesture in tuning me up with this organization. Secondly, my friends, I like to extend my thanks to Dr. Srimati Geeta Badikilaya, a friend of mine, the founder member of Destination Heritage, a similar organization in Bangalore, for having introduced me to this platform. Last but not least, my respectful thanks are extended to you all, the scholarly audience, for joining me and enriching this session. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, the title of today's presentation is The Evolution of Iconography of Lingam. This title seems to be a little peculiar, as the image of Lingam is a very simple shape and an unadorned icon as well. Most of the time, we find no changes in iconography of Lingam with one another. We all see many varieties of images of Lord Vishnu or Devi, but we see most of the lingams similar and uninteresting among them. There is a question remained in some of our minds that while we see the human form of Lord Vishnu in the sanctum or Garbhagriha, why do we see only the aniconic form of, and that is lingam of Lord Shiva there? When we refer to some ancient agamic and Puranic texts, we come across some conflicts and confusions when compared with the present practices as well. A sincere attempt here has been made to reveal the original thoughts and concepts of our ancestors by correlating the available texts and ancient sculpture of various lingams. In this endeavor, I have studied not only many temples in India, but have visited many European museums as well. I have come across some unique specimens of lingams in UK, France, Germany, Italy, and I am illustrating some of them in this presentation as well. The outcome of this paper applies not only to Indian subcontinent or not only to South India and Indian subcontinent, but can be extended to greater Indian regions like Cambodia, Java, Sumatra, etc. The approach here is a correlated one with archaeology, literature, and present practices as well. Without much ado, let us merge with lingam now. Friends, now the paper is The Evolution of Lingam, an Archaeological Perspective. Here, the presentation will continue. Now, archaeology is nothing but history, and it is nothing but a backward kind of journey. Now, we travel from today to yesterday, not to tomorrow. While traveling towards yesterday, our process is known to unknown. What we know today, we just see that, and through that, we try to go back to the ancient world where we do not know. Now, presently, the concept of today. Now, as we all know, present day, whenever you see the lingam, you consider it as pure lingam. There is no doubt in it. So, it's a point to be added for my thoughts. Now, here, this lingam is nothing but the representation of Lord Shiva among Trimurtis. Among Trimurtis, that is the destroyer of the world. So, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara are the three deities, and among them the lingam represents the Shiva, as we all know in the present context. But here, my friends, we approach towards understanding the lingam through two aspects. One is through texts, that is textual understanding. Next is physical understanding. When you go to textual understanding, we know lingam is the symbol of Shiva. And sometimes we do also relate this with the genital organ of the human beings, or any being for that matter. That is Pulling, Striling, hum kehte hai. So male or female, it is a kind of gender identification, that is lingam. And the third one is a symptom of hidden ailment. I am talking about the different meanings of the dictionary. So the lingam is, in our indigenous Ayurvedic medicine system, the lingam means a symptom of the hidden disease. If someone is coughing, that is a sign of he is having some trouble in his lungs, maybe TB or something like. So the external identification or external seeable thing or understandable thing of a hidden thing is called the lingam. So in Ayurveda, what is the lingam of that disease? So he coughs, he sputum also he discharges or something like that. Now we will proceed. Lingam means it is just a symbol. Without having any of these description, lingam is also meant in Sanskrit dictionary as a symbol. Now physically, let us examine the physical appearance of the lingam, shape or lingam. It is a pillar shaped object. We know all it is lingam is a danda like pillar shaped object. And secondly, sometimes we come across some lingams which I am going to show you in my collection, and they are like egg shaped. They are like eggs. And sometimes we see in the lingam, we see two aspects, two parts in the lingam. One is the danda in the center, and you can see this in this picture. And the second one is the pitha. So the linga is combined. So these are several lingams in my collection. I have got all these, and they are all different objects worshipped in the form of God. They are all lingams, variety of lingams. Now, finding facts from the history. We are going through the written documents and rituals and practices of today and the archaeological observation. Archaeological observation means the history is studied through the texts But archaeology is without text. By seeing an object which is left by the ancestors, we read it and we converse with it. That is the dumb language. Dumb language of the objects will be studied through an archaeologist, which you all know. It's a very common thing. For the new youngsters, I'm going to explain this, that's all. And original truth appears far from the present practices. We have come across so many practices today. As we said, Lingam is the form of Shiva or some other things. But when I went through this, gone through this, I found some conflicts and confusions here. Now, let us examine some of the available lingams in India. The ancient lingam, the most ancient lingam is available in southern India near Tirupati, and that is of course Shatavahana period's lingam is there. That is, please mind the date, that is 3rd century BCE. So that is the earliest possible lingam. Though we have come across some lingam shapes in the Sindhu culture, but we certainly say that identify that lingam in this particular Gudimalam. This place is called the Gudimalam near Tirupati. And you see the difference between these two. This is about 12th century, one of the temples in Karnataka. It is beautifully decorated and exquisitely it is carved, and this is just like a dandam, and this is having so many shapes in it. Now let us examine shortly what is the reason behind all these and all. Now let us go back to the ancient literature. After Veda, we come across Upanishads. Now it's a very important point to be patiently understood. Upanishads, the supreme God is Lord Parabrahma. He is above the Lord. You cannot call him as Lord. It is Parabrahma. It is a power and energy. So this Parabrahma is addressed in Upanishads with all these names. You come across many Upanishads. There you see Isha, Ishvara, Maheshwara, Shiva, Vishnu. Even Vishnu we have come across. This Parabrahma identified as Vishnu. And Aja, Shipivishta, Vayu. These are the epithets we find in Upanishad for Parabrahman. So there was no Vishnu or there was no God like Trimurtis these days, but the names were existed and they were identified with the Supreme Parabrahman. But in the Puranic period, these names are shared with these three gods. People, so that they have identified, they have noticed or they have thought of energy, the Parabrahman's Srishti Sthiti Laya energy has been diverted in three different people or three different gods. They are sub-gods or gods, and he is the god of the gods. So this is Shiva, Vishnu and Brahma. These are the three gods performing the three acts of Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. Then these gods were named also with these names. So originally these names of Parabrahman were distributed among Shiva and Vishnu. But the Brahma became obsolete. We all know the Brahma temple is very rare and we have hardly found one or two in India. But what is the reason behind it? If I go through that, the Brahma is a word which is very much related to Brahman. So this Brahman is a neuter gender and this Brahma is masculine gender. So these three are masculine genders and this is neuter gender. Here also, as they have named him as Brahma, there was a little confusion among the common men or the folk between the Brahma and Brahma. In Sanskrit, Brahma, the Chaturbhuka Brahma, is a Pullinga word with a Dirgha, that is long, Brahma like. But this is Brahma or Brahman is the word. Now, some more questions arose in my mind. Among them, my father used to say this mantram when we worship the God. So he says, Yo Vedadau Swarah Prokto Vedante cha Pratishtitaha Tasyah Prakriti Lilasya Yah Paraha Sa Maheshwaraha. I just questioned my father, what is the meaning of this? And who is he? Yo Vedadau Swarah Prokto. That is, he is considered as the alphabet in Veda, as the alphabet for this universe, creation of this universe. And Vedante cha Pratishtitaha. Even after the Veda, the Upanishad literature also, it opines him as the supreme power. Then Tasya Prakriti Lilasya, his game of Srishti Sthiti Laya, Yaha Paraha, who is the great, Saha Parameshwaraha, he is the Parameshwara. Then I questioned my father, Papa, there are three different gods responsible for these three different jobs. While that is the situation, how can you expect someone to perform all these three? Is he other than these three, or who is among these three? This is the question. So later generation people like my father, they said that they applied it to their personal deity. If he is Vishnu, they applied this to Vishnu. He is the responsible person for Srishti, Sthiti, Laya and all. If they are Shaiva followers, they applied this to Shiva, likewise. So next I come across, Banabhatta writes in his Kadambari, Rajojushe Janmani Sattva Vrittaye Sthitau Prajanam Pralaye Tamasprishe Ajaya Srishti Sthiti Nasha Hetave Trayimayaya Trigunatmane Namaha. This is also a similar mantra, shloka. Here, Trayimayaya Trigunatmane Namaha. He is having three different jobs and he is having three different characters of guna, three different characters of Srishti, Sthiti, Laya and all. Who is that particular single God? So my question continues there. Now, let us examine the word Isha and Ishvara. As we all know, Isha is nothing but Shiva. Ishvara is nothing but Shiva. This is the common present concept. But when we go to some other literature, now this is Upanishad, Shvetashvatar Upanishad, I have taken this from. Here, Anuraniyan Mahato Mahiyan Atma Guhayam Nihitosya Jantoho Tamakratum Pashyati Vita Shokan Dhatu Pramadan Mahimanam Isham. Here also, the Upanishads, before the Puranic Brahma Vishnu Maheshwara's concept, this Upanishad also addresses the Supreme Lord as Isha, who is Anoraniyan Mahato Mahina. He is the smallest of the small and biggest of the big and all. He is the Isha. It identifies. Now let us come to Mahabharata, and here in Krishna, Lord Krishna says, Ishvaraha Sarva Bhutanam Hriddesherjuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Arudhani Mayaya. Ishvaraha Sarva Bhutanam. So the Ishvara resides in the hearts of all the creatures on this earth, and Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Arudhani Mayaya. He is the one who is playing game or who is tuning up the activities of all these creatures. He is nothing but Ishvara. He resides in the heart of every creature, he says. Now let me come to my Karnataka, and there one saint, he is a saint and he is also a samsari. So he is a bhakta, great bhakta by name Kanakadasa. He says in Kannada, Isha Ninna Charana Seve Asayinda Maduveno Dosha Rashi Nasha Mado Shishakeshava. Oh my Lord, his Lord is Keshava. Please mind here, his Lord is Keshava, not Shiva. He is Vishnu. Isha, he addresses him as Isha. Isha, you please clear away all my sins. What am I doing every day like? So here my point is to drag you all towards the identification, addressing the Supreme Lord, that is Vishnu, and also he adds Keshava in his shloka. Then some more Isha and Ishwaras. Are these Isha and Ishwaras confined to only Shiva or even Vishnu? Let us examine. Gommatesha. We have come across Gommateshwara or Jina image in Shravana-Belagula and other places. Rajesha, Rushesha, and Jinesha. He is also a kind of Gommateshwara. Hridayesha. When I come home, my wife addresses me Hridayeshwara, Agachatu. Likewise, she calls me. Just for example. So Hridayeshwara, who resides in my heart. Then Ravaneshwara. Ravanesha, he is also the king or the lord of Lanka. And so here Ishvara means, the real meaning is owner or the leader. Now some more textual explanation for Lingam. Let us come to the Sanskrit dictionary and Agama text and what it means about the Lingam. It opines, Leenam artham gamayati iti lingam. The very important note here is Leenam artham. Leenam means it is hidden inside, not exhibited outside. The hidden inside, some power is hidden inside. We do not know what it is, but the manifestation of that into a visible form is called lingam. Something is inside. When you look at the pot brings water into your mind. So the pot is the lingam of the water, hidden water, or something like that dictionary means. So, lingyate trigunani yenatat. Agama shloka refers lingyate trigunani yenatat, in which three qualities of Srishti Laya is hides in it. So that is called linga. Yenatat, in which, with whom it resides, that is called the lingam. Then another agama, when we come later to the Shaivite agama, is like that. So lingam ishamayam proktam yonihi shaktimayam smritam. As I told you, here please look at my cursor. This is the lingam, today's lingam or even yesterday's lingam. There are two important parts, as I have told you. One is the danda and one is the pitha. Here this shloka says, lingam ishamayam proktam yonihi shaktimayam smritam. So this is the female part or the counterpart of Shiva, and this is the masculine part of this particular lingam. So here the evolution of lingam means nothing but the evolution of thoughts. So here our next evolution, thought evolution, is the male part was the only worshipped object in those days. But later on, our people realized not just the masculine form is important for the creation and the continuation of this world, we also need a feminine part, that is female part of the nature. That's why they also added this particular pitha into this particular danda. So then they formed this particular shloka as lingam ishamayam proktam yonihi shaktimayam smritam. This is yonihi, this is the female part. Now when we continue, liyanat lingamityahu apare vedavittamaha tathapi linga bhagavan swayameva maheshwaraha. So everything in this world comes out of that particular lingam and goes back and vilina hota hai wo ling par, isliye isko ling kehte hai. The meaning of the lingam is this also. Now some more agamic text explains. The agama is nothing but the codification or textual descriptions of worshipping the god and performing the rituals. So it describes the way of performing the rituals. Now here it says, Suprabhed Agama says about the lingam, how to form a lingam, create a lingam. So the Shilpi or the sculptor observes this. Chaturasram bhavet Brahma, Ashtashram Vaishnavam bhavet, Vrittam Shaivamiti Proktam, Evam Syat Tribhagitam. He says, this particular shloka says, Chaturasram bhavet Brahma. Let us see the image also in future. Now, another shloka from Ajitagama explains, Mule vasati Brahma Bhagavan Madhyabhage cha Vishnu Agre Shambhuh Pashupatihi Tasmal Lingam Sthapaye. So the same thing explained in a different way. Mule vasati Brahma Madhyabhage cha Vishnu Agre Shambhuh Pashupatihi, like. Now let us examine this agamic description. Now this is the lingam what we see today in our temples, all the temples. So as I explained you, this is the masculine part, male part, and this is the feminine part. This is linga and this is yoni. But when we look into this object, we come to the conclusion that this is made up of a single stone and in this form it is created. But actually this is made up of two important stones. As we see here, this is linga, clearly two parts are seen here. So the dandam and this is the isha and this is yoni are separately made. Some more agamic description. As I have already read that particular shloka, here Chaturasram bhavet Brahma, Ashtashram Vaishnavam bhavet, Vrittam Shaivamiti Proktam. That means the quadrant is, now this is Brahma and this is Vishnu, Ashtabhuja Swami, it is Vishnu, and the top one is the Shiva. You see the Chaturasram bhavet Brahma, Ashtashram, this is the octagonal shape in the middle, I will show you, and this is the circular shape, that is the representation of Shiva. You see these are the anthropomorphic form, that is the human form of Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, and this is the symbolic representation of these three gods. Now these are the agamokta lingams we do not just find in South India or India. These are the objects displayed in the museum Angkor Wat in Cambodia. See, this is beautifully agamokta. It is shaped with Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara and three parts. Some composite symbols. Now, you may question me, some of you, we have seen only gods, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Devi or Skanda or someone, every god is individual. We have not seen the gods mixed like this, as you say, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara are mixed in one particular god. We have not come across a mixture god with mixed concepts like some of you may question me. So I am going to correlate some more objects or the concepts of mixed gods or something like that, synthesized. Now the very first is Ashwatha, which is the most sacred tree in Indian mythology, and we revere Ashwatha with this shloka. Mulato Brahmarupaya, Madhyato Vishnurupine, Agrata Shivarupaya, Vriksharajaya Te Namaha. So this particular tree, that is Ashwatha or Ficus religiosa, is not just a tree, it is a representation of Supreme God. Which God? It also has Brahma, Mule Brahma Vasati, Mulato Brahmarupaya. In the roots, Brahma resides. In the trunk, Vishnu resides. And in the branches or in the tip, at the tip of the tree, the Shiva resides. When all these three gods reside here in this particular tree, what does it represent? Which god it represents to? So this is a composite worshipping method we have come across. I am just giving you an example. Are there any other objects which we worship with composite gods or something like that? Now let us come to this particular Kalasham. It is the most popular object in our Indian mythology, and we do refer this to so many of our pujas. Now this Kalasham, while we consecrate the Kalasham, we say this shloka. Kalashasya mukhe Vishnuhu kanthe rudra samashritah mule tatra sthito brahma madhye matra gana smritaha. What a lovely shlokam this is. Kanthe kalashasya mukhe Vishnuhu. Kalasha is pot and its mukha means the mouth. Here the arrangement of the gods are slightly differed. So the mukham, that is in the mouth or in the rim, you see the Kalashasya mukhe Vishnu, and Kanthe Rudraha, in the neck region the Shiva sits there. Rudra is nothing but Shiva. And then Mule Tatra Sthito Brahma, in his usual position like Brahma sits there at the bottom of the pot. So the pot is also a created of a kind of lingam which is created instantly. So more than the imagery or human form, this kind of composite image with the three gods all together is the real place for the worship, to invite the god and invoke the god, which will go in future in detail. Now here I have given you an example. For Satyanarayana Puja, we keep and worship the image of Satyanarayana, a painting or something like, but still the main object which we worship during the Satyanarayana Puja is the Kalasham. And this is also worshipped during the Puja of Ananta Padmanabha and also the Varalakshmi Vrata, what we popularly do it in South India, and Gauri Vrata. For all these sacred vratas or the puja performances, we install first this kind of Kalasham, object of composite gods, because we should not feel strange by coming across such a composite image like Lingam. I am giving you so many other examples of composite objects. Now some more composite image let us go through. Synthesized symbol of Shakti and Shiva. The Lingam is not just the symbol of Shiva, but it's also a synthesized symbol of Shiva and Parvati or the Devi. That is, a concept is there in Shiva Leela, that is Ardhanarishwara. We come across this particular image, Shiva and Parvati are united together. Now synthesized symbol of Hariyardhamurti, that is Harihara, Vishnu and Shiva. Harasya, Hari and Hara, there is no discrimination or bheda among these two. Shivasya Hrudayam Vishnu, Shiva Vishnuscha Hrudayam Shivaha. Likewise, Shivaya Vishnu Rupaya, Shivarupaya Vishnave. Likewise, there are two joined symbols. My friends, now let me go to UK now. This is a very unique image which I have collected. I have photographed it myself in Albert Victoria Museum in London. Now, let us come across this, let us deeply study this image. This is nothing but a lingam. As we all know, the linga danda is there. But very curiously, the linga danda is having also in the gods represented in the human form. Now if we closely examine, this is the chakra and Vishnu is holding the chakra, and this is another form of Vishnu. One is Narasimha and one is Vasudeva. So here We have identified it and given them the name. This is Chaturmurti. We see 4 different avatars on the lingam. So this is a very unique lingam. And again, I am there in Germany. This is photographed by me in German museum. And here, this is Gime. So here, you see the Narasimhavatara here and Varahavatara here. This is also a lingam represented with 4 forms of Vishnu. Now, some Vishnu images I have seen in Karnataka. This is Narayaneshwara lingam. After reading the inscription during my research, I came out with a temple built for Narayaneshwara. I was so curious about this particular Ishvara and Narayana. Then I visited the temple, but for my surprise, I did not find a human form of image in the sanctum sanctorum. I found a lingam there and inscribed as Narayaneshwara in the inscription. And we see, let us come to Karnataka again, and Ananteshwara in Udupi, a very famous temple which is older than the Madhva Matha there, earlier than the Krishna temple. That is nothing but Ananteshwara. Ananta is Ananta Padmanabha, a form of Vishnu. In his representation, the temple is having a lingam form and worshipped there. Then Surya Lingam. Let me give you another example of Arkeshwara. Arka is Surya. And we have a place called Krishnaraja Nagara near Mysore, also named as ancient Edathare. There we have a temple dedicated to Surya. That Surya is installed there in the sanctum in the form of lingam. Some other deities let us examine. Now this is the Subramanya of Kukke, very popular place. Subramanya is also there in the form of human being, but the original Subramanya, before creating this particular human form, there was a lingam which was worshipped as Subramanya before the advent of this image. So in almost all the temples, this is the Vishnueshwara. This is not Shiva, this is not Shivling, this is Vishnu. Wherever we install the lingam, there if we install a Vishnu lingam, we also have a human form in the late stages. So this is Vishnu behind this particular lingam with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. This is nothing but Vishnu lingam. We find this in Mamallapuram, that is Mahabalipuram. Now let us go to Andhra Pradesh. Here Simhachala, this is the representation of Narasimha in the form of a linga. This is Swayambhuva linga without carved by a sculptor. I'll just show you in future. So this Narasimha linga is available in this particular place called Simhachala. And this is also again in Karnataka, Ranganatha, a temple, a hill place, Mavinekere. So that in that particular hill, we see the Ranganatha's image, but this is a later one, and originally Ranganatha was worshipped in the form of a lingam. So lingam need not be in this particular shape. Any object which represents the god is the lingam. As we all know, Linam Artham Gamayati, the hidden meaning. Now let us come to some Shakta lingas. Not only lingas representing masculine form. So here we come across some Mukambika, is very famous ancient pilgrim center, Mukambika. She is also represented in the form of a lingam. Later on, the human being loves human form only. But to love kind of aniconic form, we should elevate our capacity from manly to divinely like. So here, as human beings love to see the human form, so in later period, they have installed the human form of Devi. Here, Kamakshi, that is from Kanchipuram in Tamil Nadu. The famous deity Kamakshi is also worshipped in the form of a lingam originally. Later on, they have installed this particular thing. And Annapurneshwari of Horanadu, another famous temple, and Durga Parameshwari of Katilu, they are all in Karnataka. All of them are having lingams originally. Later on, the image of human form, the human form, anthropomorphic form of Devi is there. Friends, now I am going to show you a unique lingam which has brought out by me, some of the aspects in that lingam brought out by me. This was originally recorded in MAR, that is Mysore Archaeological Report of 1924, and there this lingam today is seen like this. Originally, this lingam was having 2 dandas. See, there are 2 holes for these 2. And what was the dandas? We do not know. There may be 2 dandas of the similar size or something like that. But fortunately, we are having an image of 1924 in the book MAR. There it has a photograph where it clearly shows there were two dandas, one is big one and one is the slightly smaller one. And the slight smaller one linga is having an eye-like opening in the middle, and inside that the image of Devi is also carved. So it is nothing but Uma Maheshwara, or the couple, Shiva couple is here. Now here there were so many things missing in this particular. I have brought them out and published them all. But here I am showing you the example of lingam representing the Devi and also the Shiva. Now Ganapalinga, this is a new lingam discovered by me, identified by me. So here, if you look at this lingam, you certainly say from the other side, it is a Shiva lingam. But if you go through properly, there is a hole, an eye-like opening in this particular lingam, a small lingam, it's about 10 inches or something like that. There inside, you will see the beautifully carved Ganesha there. So I call this as Ganapalinga. I have named it as Ganapalinga. That's about 16th century as per the iconographic features of the surroundings. Now this is in Saranath near Varanasi. There I come across two lingams, namely Ramalingam and Lakshmana lingam. So Rama is also worshipped in the form of lingam. Lakshmana is also worshipped in the form of lingam. Now, outcome of our study, what all the things we have studied so far is giving this particular result. And let us see that. Firstly, lingam is not just the symbol of Shiva. As per our present study, this is the outcome. Lingam is not just the symbol of Shiva. Lingam is a composite symbol of Trimurtis. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, these three are composed in this particular lingam. Lingam is a composite image. Then lingam is also the symbol of Devi. So there you see the Devi part, and this is also a symbol of Devi. And then lastly, lingam is the symbol of Prakriti and Purusha. So responsible for the creation of this world, and hence the lingam symbolize the Prakriti and Purusha. So how can we limit lingam as a symbol of just Shiva alone today? That is my question. Now let us conclude this with some of the points. Isha, the word, we address the Lord Shiva as Isha, no? This Isha is not just the name of Shankara, the destroyer, but of any god. Isha is any god. Then Shiva is not just the name of Shankara, but Parabrahma as well. In the beginning, the Upanishadic slokas were also addressing Parabrahma as Shivam. So then Lingam is not just the symbol of Shankara, but of any other deities. So we have come across Narayaneshwara, Mukundeshwara, and Ganapalinga, and also Narayaneshwara. So Linga is not confined to only Shiva as per our present concept. We should also extend that to any god. Now, Lingam is the composite symbol of many gods in general and Parabrahma as a whole. The most important point lies here. Now, the different gods we worship in the form of Shiva or in the form of Vishnu or in the form of Krishna, Rama, they are all the visible form of invisible Parabrahma. While we worship Krishna, Shri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha we say, Shri Ramachandra Parabrahmane Namaha we say. So Ramachandra is an intermediate step to reach the Parabrahma. Likewise, the supreme deity, even today in Hindu mythology, they believe the Parabrahman is an invisible, he is a Gunarahita, he is having no characters or no features at all. He is Shunya-like. So please understand, now Lingam is a composite symbol, not of any god. It is a place where you can bring a god and make him to sit there. Now when we proceed to this, Parabrahma Lingam Bhaje Pandurangam. Adi Shankaracharya has said Parabrahma Lingam Bhaje Pandurangam. Now this is Adi Shankara's image. This is my painting. In fact, Professor Mishraji has said that I am a painter, so I am just showing you. This is the Shankaracharya's image, and let me misuse this opportunity. And this is another Shankaracharya's image written by me. The speciality of this particular image is, this is not just a normal image, but this is made up of a single line. So the single line runs in all the lips and nose and eyes, eyebrows, everywhere, and it comes and it ends up in the particular Ungushta or Pada. So this is Shankaracharya Bhagavad Pada's Pada. It comes and resides there. So this is the painting. then by me Ekarekha Shankara. Please come to the point. Then let us come to this Murti Puja aspect. Now, Agama explains the Murti Puja as Adhama Puja. Adhama means not today's concept. Adhama means हम समझते हैं वो नीच है, अधम है. No, but in Agamic period, Adhama means one of the methods. So this is Adhama, this is Madhyama, and this is Uttama. So there are several steps in reaching a place. The lowest step is Adhama, and the Madhyama and Uttama like. So Adhama is a lower level of worship. That is the early level. One shloka in Agama says, Shivam Atmani Pashyanti Pratimasu na yoginaha ajnaninam bhavanarthaya pratimaha parikalpita. That means the Shiva is seen not by opening their eyes but closing their eyes. When you look inwards into your own self, you will be able to see the Shiva, not by opening your eyes and looking into image. The image worship is not the supreme worship, and you have to close your eyes. You should feel Shivam Atmani Pashyanti, who they are the yogis. Yogins conceive the image of Shiva in their heart, not in the image. So here, Brahmavadins or Aniconists, they don't believe in the human form of worship. They say, Pashana mani loham rinmayeshu punarjanma bhogakari mumuksho tasmad diti swahridayarchanameva, it says. So there, if you worship human form for your salvation, it never gives you that particular result. It brings you back into the human form. If you go on worshipping the human form, you will be once again take rebirth on this earth. So to get ourselves relieved and to attain moksha, you should worship the shapeless form, that is Linga. So the Linga form is the most sacred form of worship in Hindu mythology. Friends, as we all have discussed, the Brahma is a shapeless one. For a shapeless one, we have given or created some shape, assigned some shape to it. So this is Avyakta. So this is Vyakta. Vyakta means seeable. So here Avyakta. The Parabrahman or the Supreme God can never be seen, but he is symbolically represented with this kind of Shunya. Now we are looking into our computer. Between the eye and the monitor, you cannot focus. To focus, you should have one particular object. So your eye will stop here. So if you want to focus in the middle, it is not possible unless you bring some object there. So just to focus our attention, our forefathers have created one object, that is the shapeless object. This is called Lingam.
Our journey through differently shaped doors is towards the shapeless and single destination. Entries are many, but the goal is one and the same.
Now here, this is Vyakta Vyakta Rupa. So this can be called as Vyakta and also Avyakta, both. But actually, now the Lingam is symbol of Parabrahman, as we have discussed so far. Akara, Ukara, Makara. We have also given another symbol, that is Pranavakshara, for Parabrahma, and this is audible form. We can listen to it in the sound of Om. So this is Akara, Ukara, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, all are combined in this. They are formed in the form of a sound, and here it is the visible form of the Parabrahman. Totally, this is a container where Parabrahman resides, but he is seen to us in the God whom we worship or whom we love and whom we like. So this Omkara is also the representation of Parabrahma. Now, let me conclude this with a particular point. This is an egg. So in this egg, what can you suspect? You can suspect just a creature is there inside. It is the external part or a disclosing part of a hidden life there. So this may be a reptile or this may be a chicken, or this may be a peacock. You do not know. But you know only this is an abode of some creature. Peacock or the chicken or something like. Now, lingam is the abode of God, maybe of any God. So, the lingam itself is not God, it is the abode of God. The God whom we invite and invoke there, whenever we prepare a kalasha, there we invoke by saying some mantras. Atra avahito bhava, stapito bhava, sanhito bhava, saniruddho bhava. These are the mantras we recite and we invite and invoke the God in it, and we worship puja for that. That may be a symbol of kalasham, or that may be a symbol of human form of God. So that is just an abode. Lingam is an abode of home of God, where the God or the Parabrahma will come and reside there in the form of our imagery or whatever we like so. Anyway, let us jump to the other aspect of lingam. There are three types of lingams available. One is the Manusha lingam. This is a human being, a sculptor carves it with all these shapes and all, as I told you, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara and all. And this is an untouched stone. This is a natural stone called Swayambhuva lingam, and this will be placed in a pitham like. This is yoni. It will be created by sculptor, and this will be placed there. This is Swayambhuva linga. And finally, this is the Banalinga. This is a kind of a rolled stone in the river. We come across Narmada river. There the stone is rolled for centuries, and that comes to this particular shape. This is Banalinga as far as the Shiva is concerned. I'll show you the Vishnu aspect also, similar one. But I would like to mention one particular sentence in an inscription in Karnataka. That's why I have given it in Kannada script. So that says, let me pronounce it, Kadayada Kandarisada Kayim Muttada Krittrima Rupam. What a beautiful sentence it is. That is Kadayada. It is not carved by a sculptor. Kandarisada. It is not shaped as well. And also Kayim Muttada. It is untouched. The artist or the sculptor is not modified anything by touching it. So that is Akritrima Lupa. Akritrima means not unnatural. It is unnatural. He says not unnatural. So it is natural. So the lingam is a natural shape. That is also called Swayambhuva linga. Now here, a shape to a shapeless power. As I told you, this shapeless power, it has no shape. When the leaf is moving on the tree, the leaf is not moving. The leaf is moving because of the power of the wind. So the symbol of the existence of the wind is the moving leaf. So this moving leaf is the symbol of unseenable thing like. So here let us see, this is Banalinga, representation of Shiva, and there is also a similar representation for Vishnu, that is also Saligrama Lingam. This sense, it is not Vishnu, it's not having Vishnu's face or Gada or something like Chakra or something even. This is an object which we all know, very familiar with this. This is called Salagrama. We see this kind of chakra there. It is also found in Gandaki river in Nepal region, and this is also symbolic form of Vishnu. The lingam is also there for both the Vishnu and Shiva. Now, let us come across various form of lingams. These are my collection, as I have told you in the beginning. So many different types of lingams are there. And now, this is my collection. This is a registered archaeological antiquity in my name. And this is a very costly and valuable Fuchsite green stone. This is lingam more than 1000 years old. Scholars have identified this. I'll just show you. This is very small piece of 2 inches. And here we come across a mukha of Shiva. So this is Shivalinga. So the artist has carved the face of Shiva with all the third eye and other features. This is a very important antiquity. I am showing you, that is my property in fact. This is about just 2 inches. Now let me jump to the another object which is also in my collection. I have collected this. This is about 1000 years old lingam. This appears to be the Shiva's face with the Chhatra there, Naga Chhatra and the Prabhavali, but this is not itself a Shiva. As I have explained to you, this is the container or the abode of Shiva, where the Shiva resides inside. See here, this is the lingam what I have kept outside. This resides here in this. Just look at it. It appears to be a Shiva's face under the Chhatra, that is the umbrella of the seven-hooded Ananta. Now this is examined by a great scholar, late scholar. He was Professor Ramachandra Rao, very great Indologist of Karnataka. He had visited my home and he was very happy to see that. I am showing you another object. This is also a kind of Linga Pitha. This is Kamala Pitha, I call it as. It is with me now. I am going to show you. And this has got 16 petaled leaves there, petals there, and this is placed on a kurma, that is the tortoise, for a stable platform, and the Shivalinga, that is Banalinga, will be placed on that and it will be worshipped. Now friends, we have come to an end, and this is a long journey of Lingam's iconography. So Lingam iconography, though it appears to be very simple and unadorned, but every Lingam discloses the fact of the hidden thoughts of the contemporary people. Our ancestors, how they have noticed the Lingam is most important. This is purely in the shape of genital organ. You can see this in Tirupati. Even today, around 5 kilometers from Tirupati's airport, this temple is existing there. Later on, this particular projected part or the head of this particular organ is merged into a single pillar, and you can see the shape here. I'm going to show you some more illustrations. And here you see the modification. Then the concept of Shiva and also Shakti, male and female parts are united together. See the evolution of thoughts, not just the image. There will be thought behind the image. And this is the Trimurtis. So Srishti Sthiti Laya, the concept. Then this is a highly decorated, but the urge of the decoration could not be persisted by the human beings. The Vaishnavites, they carved beautiful decorated Vishnu images, but the Shaivites, they, instead of carving anything on the Lingam's head, they carved the beautiful decorated Pitham and they were satisfied. Now the long journey of evolution Lingam has come to an end. I would like to show you an important point, another point. Here, that original Lingam, which was resembling the genital organ in the beginning, now it has come down to a flat pillar-like shape. We should understand the reason behind this development also. So here I am going to give you an example. This is, as we all know, Vatapatra Shayi, the Lord Krishna as a child sleeping on a leaf. But this image, when it is viewed by a foreigner, he or she will certainly express their opinion like, oh, beautiful girl. Oh, she is so beautiful. What is her name? They may question like this. But our ancient people were not painting our Krishna like this. See, they were painting like this. The genital organ of the baby was also exposed to disclose that this is not a female one. Though the appearance of the whole arrangement or the decoration is like a girl, but it is not a girl. So there was no reservation in original thoughts in Indian forefathers. But later on, when we are influenced with the foreign influence like Islam and also the Christianity, the temples and the Lingam and all were identified as an obscene elements or objects, and it influenced our culture that we also transited our thoughts into a different one and a sophisticated one. Now here, these are my paintings. Here you see this is a very rare painting. This is of Ananta Padmanabha, which we see in Ananta Padmanabhapuram even today. There, this has got Trimurtis in that. Lingam is here and the Vishnu is here and the Brahma is here. When you come across the three gods together, this is nothing but the representation of Parabrahma. Here another image, painting done by me. This is Yashoda Krishna. People hesitate to show the male part of this Krishna, as I told you in the previous slide. Here, traditionally, when we paint, nowadays people, they are hiding this, as I shown you in the previous slide. This is the original way of thought represented from my forefathers. Friends, now let us come to an end. And this is the original Lingam of 200 BC. Now how it is taking change, metamorphosis, how it is taking change into different things. See, this particular projection has become just a line-like, and gradually this curved shape has become flattening and flattening. Totally it is flattened today, and this particular symbol you can see here is modified into a different one than the original. This is the centuries of journey of Lingam Originally it was like this, and today after 16th century you will see like this. I have given you an example of our own Kannada language. This is the letter Ka and this is the letter Ka of Brahmi. When we compare these two letters, it is very difficult for us to assume that this letter is derived from this letter or something like that. So now I am going to show you these antiquities. As you are seeing this is the one made by me, in fact, and this is an object. I'll just show you. This has got 3 parts in it. I don't know whether you see it properly or not. This is the top portion, this is the Shiva, and this is the Shiva's counterpart, that is Devi, Parvati, and now this is the counterpart of Brahma, Vishnu, this is Vishnu, Ashtabhuja, 8 angles, octagonal, and then at the bottom you see the Brahma. I don't know whether see it or properly. See, this is the Danda. This is the masculine part of the lingam. As I told you, Chaturasram bhaved Brahma, Ashtashram Vaishnavam bhaved, Vrittam Shaivamiti Proktam, Evam Syat Tribhagitam. So here Brahma's counterpart is there in the shape of this particular one, the upper one here. I have kept it here, there. So this is a model made by me. It is very light. It's not heavy. It appears to be heavy, but it is made with paper mesh or something like that. Now, this is one of the items. I am going to show you one more. Now this is nothing but, as I told you, shown you in the literature, and you can see that. And this is a Linga Karanda. That is a place to keep the lingam. And this is a 16-petaled lotus. And here we place the Bana Lingam. This is the representation of Shiva. We place it here, and the Kurma is here for the stable platform. And here we worship the Lingam with Abhishekam and all. Then after the completion, this will be closed into a lotus bud, and this gets a shape of this kind. So this is the Linga Pitha or Linga Karanda. This is Kamala Pitha, I call it as. And the next is this. The particular lingam, this is about 2 inches, very small object, but it's a very costly, precious stone, Fuchsite. The name of the stone is Fuchsite, and you can see the image of Shiva here with all the features. This is called Mukhalingam, and this is also called as Avyakta Linga and Vyakta Manusha Rupa. This is called in between Vyakta Vyakta Rupa. So this is a form of lingam in my collection. And finally, I am going to show you very interesting and one more object. This is the Shiva. As I have explained you, this Shiva is not the Shiva himself. This is just a container. Here you have the, let me go back. So here this is the container. So this is an image. See, this is the Shiva's face, it can be separated. But when you put this here like this, Om Namah Shivaya, then you will see the linga here. This is a magical box prepared by our ancestors. This is about 1000 years old object. And you can see the container. This is not just the Shiva, this is just a container where you carry the Shiva. This is the Ishtalinga of the representation of Shiva, an Avyakta. So this, I name this as Ishtalinga Samputa. Samputa means a cascade. So here you see the Shiva is worshipped, placed and carried from place to place. So my friends, so that's all my presentation. Thank you very much for your patient listening, and I thank you so much. Hello, are you there?
I'm sorry, I have been facing some technical problem, but people have listened to you. There are some, all eclores. People are praising you like anything. The only few curiosities people have, like we have curiosity from Anjali Kumar. It is reflecting. Can you see the queries and respond to it?
No, sir, I'm not able to see. No. Yeah, sir. Now I'm seeing. Yeah, are you listening to me? How do you explain, sir, the symbol?
Anjali has said, how do you explain, sir, the symbols worn on left arms of Lingayata devotees? This is his question.
Wonderful. See, the Lingayata concept of wearing the lingam is nothing but the symbolic representation, as I have explained to you now, the Banalingam or the Ishtalingam, what we see here. It is specially made in a particular fashion and they wear it on the left. So here, this fashion or the type of wearing the lingayat on the body has been identified by Shankaracharya himself. That period, that is before Basavanna, who is the reformer of Lingayatism. There he says, Shirasi Lingadaraha Shaivaha, Kanthe Maheshwaraha, Bhuje Pashupataha, and there are so many places where we also install or they wear the lingam on our body. And for an example, this Mahamalapuram, that is Mahabalipuram god Mahendra Varma, he is said to be the Shiva Lingabhishikta or something like that. That is, he was a Mahashaiva and he was Pashupata or something like sects are there, no? He was wearing the lingam like this on the forehead, on the head. And when he was taking bath, the Abhisheka Jala Purne, the inscription says Abhisheka Jala Purne. The Abhisheka Jala of the Shiva was falling on his body and he was getting bathing like that. So the one what you said about the Lingayat, they wear also in the neck and also on the body. There are different parts. People are there of different sects. They wear it. That's nothing but the Shiva's image, but it is purely Veera Shaiva means. So before Veera Shaivism, there was a common Smarta sect like who were worshipping both the Vishnu and Shiva equally. But Veera Shaiva means Raneshuro, Baleshuro, na Karyataha, something like that. There is a sloka. They are Veeras not by holding the sword and fighting in the field, but they are Veera Bhaktas. They are prepared to offer their head even to Lord Shiva. Likewise, they are Veera Bhakta. So, and hence they are called Veera Shaivas. So, to symbolize that their devotion to the Shiva, they wear the particular lingam either on the arm or on the neck or somewhere in the body.
Question we have from Dr. Manoj Kumar. He is an archaeologist. Please
say also something about the Yaksha Swarupa Shiva on the basis of the sacred literature or something. Now, sir, Shiva has been shown as Kirata, or Yaksha, or Nataraja, or so many aspects. These are the fancies of the devotees. So they can see their Shiva in all these forms. But my talk or the study is confined to the form of lingam. This is not the explanation about Shaivism or the Shiva, different aspects of Shaiva worshipping. This is just the concept of lingam and how it is visualized by our ancestors or something like that. And what you are asking is all the fashion of Shaivites or Vaishnavites by writing their avatars or Leela Murtis in Shaiva sects or something like this. More than that, I don't know much about that particular Yaksha Rupa.
Everybody is appreciating your presentation. It is a master presentation. It is a brilliant presentation. It is a presentation we all were eager to witness. It's mesmerizing. Your scholarship, your ability to depict, your ability to present, your PPT, your graceful look, everything was superb. Superb. So, Dr. Anjali has said excellent lecture, sir. Thank you, Sharma Sahab. Anita Misra said we are very thankful to Open for giving such a moment. We are thankful to you, sir, for making such a brilliant presentation. Manoj Kumar says thank you, sir. Like Manoj Kumar said, we learned a lot. Congratulations, sir. So I tell you at the end that we are really fortunate to have you here. We are really very, very thankful to you, sir. And you are now the member of this Open family. Maybe in future, when we want to have you, I am sure you will come and deliver again the meaningful lecture, as we have already discussed. We are going to trouble you for the Sara kind of thing.
Finally, I thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I thank all the scholars who witnessed this little talk and enriched me and encouraged me to go ahead of this. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.